Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with Ripe for Reissue. Now, recently, I did a video on the best recordings of Mstislav Rostropovich. And in the course of that recording, some of you asked me where to find certain titles, and it was kind of, well, complicated, shall we say. And here is a box. The DG, Complete DG Recordings, which has quite a bit of stuff that was never actually on DG, but, you know, it's okay. It's the thought that counts, right? This is what made me crazy about this. You've got, so much stuff. Some of it was on Philips, other universal labels, but that's not the point. The point is that Rostropovich was not only the greatest cellist of the 20th century, arguably, but one of the greatest musicians of all time, and this is his legacy. This and the big box on EMI, which we can also cover, perhaps. And why is it out of print? I think it's just that, first of all, cellists don't have the same, cachet that violinists and pianists do. Not that their stuff stays in print any more frequently from major labels. But also, there's just, and I keep harping on this, there's no effort made to educate and sell the product, to tell the public what it is, why it matters, why it's terrific. None. Zero. Zippo. Somehow you're supposed to be born with this sort of genetic knowledge, some person, is born in Temecula, California, and they're supposed to wake up one morning and say, "Oh, golly gee, I wonder where my Rostropovich is today." I mean, if you don't tell them about it, they're not going to know. And one of the most damaging and awful things about our classical music culture is that there is an assumption, and it's an assumption which is endemic in the classical music universe, among the artists and everybody, that somehow the universe owes them a living and that they're entitled to be famous and that the universe should know about them and they don't have to lift a finger to try and explain to people why what they do matters. It does matter. It matters culturally and artistically, and more than that, it matters because it gives people just tremendous joy and pleasure in music, which, of course, we all think is one of the greatest things that life has to offer. But they don't do anything. They don't do anything. Now, Rostropovich is gone. He can't help himself anymore. He's not an active artist. But the legacy is there, and it's fantastic. And I'm going to tell you what the legacy is. And these people put a lot of money into him. I mean, here it is. It's a cube. It costs something. All those years, all that work, all of that talent. And there's no effort made to tell people just how terrific it is. And it pisses me off. You know that. Anyway, here it is. If I can get it out of its cube, you see I'm down there straining. Okay. It comes out eventually. And we get a little bookie. Of course, there's a booklet. And then rather nice looking original jacket type album things, which is really quite wonderful. So let's go through these. I'm going to pull these out, and we'll take them original jacket at a time. And let's see how far we get. Well, we're going to get through the whole thing. It's got 37 CDs. Yes, it's a pretty good set, a pretty good collection. So here we go. Schumann Cello Concerto and Tchaikovsky, the Rococo Variations with the Leningrad Fill and Rostropovich. So that's like early DG. Look at how young he was. Oh, he was a kid. And I mean, it's a short playing time disc, 44 minutes. But, he did the Schumann, and the Schumann is a tough piece. It's an interesting debut because it's not terribly virtuosic. It's not terribly well orchestrated. It's not terribly popular. So that's kind of fun. Dvorak Cello Concerto and Tchaikovsky, the Rococo Variations. Oh, yeah. Boy, he must have done those 1,000 times. The Dvorak as well. This is the famous Berlin Phil Karajan recording, which everybody used as their reference. and which I never particularly liked, mostly because of Karajan, but also because Rostropovich did a much better Dvorak in his last recording with Ozawa for Erato in Boston, where he's using his new cello. It's just the most beautiful Dvorak you've ever heard in your life. This is not bad. God knows it's not bad. Glazunov, Chant du Ministrel, and the Shostakovich Second Cello Concerto with Boston and Ozawa. Oh, this is wonderful. This is just terrific. I remember when I first heard it because I loved the first cello concerto, didn't know the second. This was the recording that so many of us learned it from, and because we didn't have access to the Melodia recordings and stuff like that, the earlier stuff. Oh my God, what a strange piece. What a strange piece, a dark, brooding adagio, and then that scherzo with the bagel song from Odessa, Bubliki, Kupicha, Bubliki, which is, bagels, buy your bagels. And then the crazy finale with the tick-tock ending. Incredible piece. Wonderful performance. Let's see, what do we got here? Vivaldi, Tartini, and Boccherini cello concertos with Paul Zacher, who was still around back in those days. And that was a lot of fun. So there's that. And Schubert, the Schubert Quintet, the mellows. He did a few of these, and they're in here, which is quite lovely. It's a very good performance of that. Oh, I love this disc. This is the Chopin Cello Sonata and the Introduction and Polonaise for cello and piano, and Schumann's Adagio and Allegro for cello and piano with Martha Argerich. A classic. Rostropovich worked with the best artists. He really did. And got along with them usually pretty well. And oh my gosh, some amazing discs. Brahms Cello Sonatas with Rudolf Serkin. This is old Serkin, and I remember this is a digital thing. I never quite got into these works or these performances of these works. They always sounded to me like the cello and the piano were playing two separate pieces that very seldom come together. That's me. I mean, some of you may like the Brahms Cello Sonatas better, but I that's me. That's all I can say. I don't warm to them, and I can't go further than that. Beethoven string trios with Anne-Sophie Mutter and Bruno Giurana, whatever his name is. There you go. Beethoven string trios are marvelous. The Opus 9 trios, particularly. I mean, do you know these? You should. Oh my God, it's Opus. Let's see, what is this? Opus 3, Opus 8, the Opus 9s. Great works. I mean, other than Mozart's Divertimento, they're the greatest string trios like ever. And they're beautiful, wonderful examples of early Beethoven. Really masterful early Beethoven. Better than the Opus 18 quartets, in my view. Okay, what else have we got here? Schubert Quintet with the Emersons. I like this one better than the Mellos. I think it has more pizzazz. It's got a little bit more fire and rhythm, and it's really dazzling that way. It's a very fine performance of the quintet. Messiaen. Oh, the concert à quatre. This was that last piece that he wrote that, was kind of assembled by Yvonne Loriot, his wife, after he died. A strange piece. A weird piece. It's for, let's see, flute, oboe, piano, cello with Myung-Won Chung. It's interesting. The Three Meditations for Cello and Orchestra from Mass by Bernstein. All these pieces that were written for him. That's a classic with the Israel Phil and Bernstein. That's a nice recoupling, actually, of those two works. Beethoven, the Cello Sonatas with Richter. This was on Philips. One of you said to me, what label is this on now? Well, it was originally on Philips, and then Philips became Decca, so it was re-released on Decca, and now here it is on Deutsche Grammophon. And it is so strange to see what Universal uses, what labels they use and how they put these things together, because sometimes they'll draw from all of their labels and legacy, and sometimes they just don't seem to care. And they'll only do it selectively, and there's no rhyme or reason. But this is a classic reference recording of the Beethoven cello sonatas, for sure. And then we get the Benjamin Britten stuff. Here it is. This was on Decca, which is now on Deutsche Grammophon for our purposes. You get the Britten cello sonata, the Schumann 5 Stücke in Volkstone, and the Debussy cello sonata, which is fabulous, with Britten at the piano. Oh my God, this is a great performance of the Debussy. Unbelievably, wonderfully, fabulously perfect, really perfect. Then we have the Britten Cello Symphony, which I think is just the ugliest thing in the universe, and the Haydn Cello Concerto in C Major. That's the new one, the one that was rediscovered, which is just delightful. It's shorter and peppier than the D Major, and this is with the English Chamber Orchestra again in Benjamin Britten. And we have the Britten Cello Suites, all three of them. There were three of them, I think. There's two of them here. We'll see what else pops up. So here's two of them. I thought there were three. Well, we'll see if we get to three. Are they wonderful works for solo cello? I never listened to them. Ha! There you go. I mean, I've heard them. I've played them a few times. I've listened to other performances of them. They don't do it for me. They really don't. Schubert, the Arpeggione Sonata and the Bridge Cello Sonata, which is also with Rostropovich in Britain. These Decca recordings are just fantastic. The things the Rostropovich and Vishnevskaya were friends, real friends of Britten and Peter Pears, and they showed up at Alderberg all the time to do the festival, and these recordings were part of that, and they were splendid. Rachmaninoff, cello sonatas, and Chopin and Rachmaninoff and Schubert and Schumann stuff with Rostropovich and Alexander Dedukin, well, whatever his name was. And there we go. These are monos from like 67. Is that what the date is? 57, 67, 57, 59. Yeah, Melodia stuff. The Melodia stuff pops up everywhere. I mean, who knows where it's going to be. Next, it may be in, I think, is it in that Melodia box, which I have right up there? Young Slava. I can go take a look, because the EMI stuff is. Haydn, let's see, Beethoven and Schumann, piano trios. This is also Melodia stuff. Old stuff. Is that? Yeah. Emil Gilels, Coden, Leonid Kogan, and Rostropovich. The Three Bears. See, there they are. And they're lovely performances. They're also monos. And I guess, well, they're according to this, they're on Deutsche Grammophon recordings. So, who knows? 21, the Fauré Piano Quartet. Ooh, number one. What a great work that is. Fauré's piano quartets. There are two of them. They're just fantastic. Glorious works with Gilels, Kogan, Barshai playing the viola. Rudolf Barshai and Rostropovich. And this is another Mono 58 thing. Really cool. The Schubert Quintet with the Taneyev Quartet. This is one of the ones from Russia. And it's in stereo from 63. Wow. Ooh, it was on Westminster. Look at that. Westminster. Astonishing. That's the third one in this box. Saint-Saëns Cello Concerto No. 1 with the Symphony Orchestra of the All Radio Union something Grigory Stolyarov. This is Melodia stuff too. The Glazunov Chant du Ménestrel again with Kondrashin and the Moscow Youth Symphony. And the Schumann Cello Concerto with the Moscow Symphony Orchestra under Samuel Samosud, who was a very good conductor, by the way. These are old mono melodias, too. What's this? Rostropovich, Westminster. This is the early stuff, really. See, he didn't do a lot of, modern stereo stuff for DG. There wasn't that much. But there was a lot of other stuff. This is little bitty things by Chopin, Granados, Borodin, Prokofiev, Popper, Strauss, Schumann, Handel, the aria Vouchsafe, O Lord, from the Dettingen Te Deum for cello, and Paganini with various people doing various things. Schumann, the Piano Concerto, and Chopin, Piano Concerto No. 2. Rostropovich is a conductor with Martha Argerich. Yay! Oh, yes. Great recordings, famous recordings. Absolutely marvelous. They were sort of classics until, Argerich went on and re-recorded everything over and over again 150 times. But they're still great. They're absolutely great. Tchaikovsky, Sleeping Beauty, Swan Lake, Berlin Phil. Now we get all of this stuff because let me see if they have the other one is here. Yes. And the Nutcracker with the Andante Cantabile and the Capriccio Italienne, which is not on the disc I was talking about earlier that has just the ballet suites. So you can get all three ballet suites on one disc, unlike DG Originals. But originally there were two discs, and here they are in their separate original releases, and they are astounding. They are unspeakably great and fabulous. I mean, just insanely great and fabulous. And some of you have heard it since I talked about it, and you've very kindly written in to agree that they are insanely great and fabulous. Yes, unbelievable. And let's see what else we got. Now we're coming to the end here. The Prokofiev Romeo and Juliet suites with the National Symphony Orchestra of Washington. Really sort of extremely personalized. And according to Rostropovich, based on his own knowledge of what Prokofiev did when he played the music to him at the piano, because they were best buds, let's not forget. So you have to take this quite seriously as an interpretive option, but other people will prefer a more balletic and less interventionist approach. I think they're fun. They're fun. The Death of Tybalt's just a smoker. And the Shostakovich Fifth, which he remade for Teldec in a performance that was a bit better played and recorded. Some people might prefer this one for its rawness and intensity, and it's not rawness and intensity in a bad way. It's rawness and intensity. Yeah, it's really a great Shostakovich Fifth, however you slice it. The Rachmaninoff with this, Piano Concerto No. 3, and the Prokofiev Third with Pletnev and Rostropovich conducting. These are cool. They're very, very, again, Pletnev is a mechanical, cold, uninteresting conductor 99% of the time, and a wackadoo, interventionist, micromanaging nut job as a soloist. And so you kind of get, I don't know, it's kind of the best of both worlds here. I like these performances. They just come out actually rather lean and mean and exciting. And you can't ask for more than that. Then we've got, the operas, the stuff with Vishnevskaya. This is major stuff. Tosca. I love the picture. If that isn't Tosca, who is Tosca? Seriously, right? When after they were ejected from the Soviet Union and they left, Vishnevskaya was really at the end of her career. But they made a few opera sets for Deutsche Grammophon in Paris, and Rostropovich conducted. She didn't like to have him conduct. She had her preferred conductors at the opera, and she felt that when he became a conductor, he was sort of trespassing on her turf. But they managed to get along. It's a very passionate Tosca. She's a great Tosca. You may find Rostropovich's conducting, again, a little bit too impulsive and kind of, all over the place. But, I always love this. The only thing I didn't like is the canon in the Te Deum. That sounds very artificial. It sounds like someone's, opening up like a box of something and going ka-chunk, ka-chunk. They could have had a better canon in the background, but never mind. It's Vishnevskaya, Franco Bonisoli, Matteo Managuerra, and it's a good cast, and it's for Vishnevskaya. And I think she was one of the great sopranos. Boy, did she throw herself into everything she did. And if she had a little bit of Slavanska edgeka there to her tone, a little bit of edge and sharpness, well, what the hell? It wasn't because, boy, she was a Kunstdiva. She knew what she was doing. She really did. And here is Peak Dom, a wonderful version of Peak Dom with, Peter Gugeloff and Dan, oh my goodness, they would, Yurdachescu and Bernd Weichel and Regina Resnick and Vishnevskaya and Hannah Schwartz and famous people doing Peak Dom, Queen of Spades. What an amazing piece that is, too. It's Tchaikovsky's greatest opera, I think. It really is just an incredible work. I saw it at the Met. My sister, who was a Russian lit major at the time, I took her to see it. And, did we have a nice time. And what a wonderful piece. With Elizabeth Soderstrom, singing the Countess, she does that Gretry aria, and she had no voice left whatsoever. None, zero, and nobody cared. She just was Elizabeth Soderstrom. She came by and she sang it in a whisper, and you could have heard a pin drop. Anyway, this is a wonderful performance as well, and you've got Vishnevskaya as Lisa, which is like what's important, and that's wonderful. And Regina Resnick as the Countess. What's not to love? Then we've got like some recital things, some songs by Rachmaninoff and Glinka. And Rostropovich was one hell of a fine pianist and an excellent accompanist of his wife. So you've got these things. And last but not least, the Mussorgsky Songs and Dances of Death, which Shostakovich orchestrated for her, and which she later sang in that orchestration. 3 Tchaikovsky songs and 5 Prokofiev songs, poems of Anna Akhmatova. These are rarities. And this was on Philips. It's marvelous. So there you go. That is the entire Rostropovich on DG. And and Melodia and Westminster and Decca and Phillips and, for our purposes, it's on DG. I'm just assembling it here. And it's out of print. But there is such a wonderful range of stuff. I mean, the operas with Vishnevskaya, the vocal recitals, the Britten stuff, well, that's available maybe in some Britten boxes. You can find these things elsewhere in various places. The Melodia stuff, God knows where it's floating around now. But it should not be out of print. Ever. And that's the bottom line. So keep on listening, friends. Thanks for joining me. Just keep your eyes out and find some of these things. The most famous stuff we all know. But my God, what a legacy, and what a shame it's treated with such a cavalier lack of respect. Take care.